All right, guys, meteorologist Elliot Wilson here with Rachel Spross. We just finished a brutal leg workout. This is the workout I do twice a week, and I thought it'd be hard on her too, but she actually did very well. Which
I survived.
She survived. She did good, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun. But yeah, we're gonna kind of talk about what we did in the leg workout first. So I always like to start out with deadlifts, just because it's an anabolic movement. It gets all the anabolic hormones up, and that just makes your workout more beneficial. But you'll notice in the video we deadlift in different ways. Everybody has a different strong point or where they just feel better. I deadlift more conventional. I just feel better that way. I don't feel as good when I do the sumo deadlift like she does. But why don't you kind of tell us why you, because you usually do sumo deadlift, right?
I typically do. I have really strong hips, and so that's a more hip dominant movement. Gets a little bit more glute action, which those of us who are ladies tend to gravitate towards the glute movement. So that's just one that's my preference. It's just a position that's naturally more comfortable for me.
Yeah, then you guys probably noticed my hip strength isn't as good as hers, so that's why her hamstring movements are really good.
Yeah,
but
my hips don't lie. So
yeah, the hips don't lie. Yeah, plus I just, using the quads and the lower back, I just always get a better boost, I guess, or better oomph, for lack of a better term, better anabolic effect, and it just feels great afterwards. And yeah, it's just an awesome thing to do. Then after that, we started right into quads. We did leg extension first, just because that's how you fully shorten your quad. If you've ever tried to do a leg extension, even without weight, it knots up a lot and it doesn't feel good. But that's why you start with that, because it's a fully shortened quad, and that's why I like to always start with that. But now I know this is usually my workout. Now, is that something you usually do? Do you start with leg extension or when you do quads?
So it depends on the day. So I have 2 leg days in my program as well. I have one that's more hamstring focused and one that's more quad focused. I still hit both of those muscle groups on both days. It's just one of those days is going to have more of a focus on one or the other. So I always do leg extensions on both of those leg days, but definitely on a quad focused day. I actually did what I typically will do on my quad focused leg day today, which was that drop set. So that's where you start at your working set, your heaviest weight for your desired rep range. You do that full rep range, and then you go straight into a lower weight to failure. So that's a really great way for you to get a certain muscle group to grow, which is really something that I'm working on, since I am very hip dominant. My hamstrings are really strong. I'm trying to get my quads up to speed as well.
Yeah, you were pushing some good weight on the leg extension too, and then you even threw in the drop set at the end, and if you do a drop set correctly, especially on leg extension when you're fully shortening the quad, it hits you hard.
Yeah, no, I got off of that and I was a little
you were wobbling.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, I actually did a double drop set, I think, on that one.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
That one's definitely killer. So highly recommend.
Oh, definitely. And then after that, we did a leg press, and the reason I do that second is because your active range of motion is not as good on the leg press like as it is when you're doing a free weight squat or even the hack squat. So I always like to do movements where my active range of motion isn't as good, just so I can try to make it as good as possible. Because if I were to do leg press like after squats and whatnot, I wouldn't be able to move my hip a lot or my knee a lot without my lower back coming into play. So that's why I always do the leg press second. And sometimes your stance can change. Sometimes I like to put my feet a little bit lower. I think your feet usually go kind of somewhat higher, probably just because you're more hip dominant.
So it just depends on what I'm trying to target, kind of like you were starting to say there. The lower you put your feet, generally you get a little bit more quad dominance in that. You get more of that knee flexion. So it is going to activate the quads a little bit more than the hamstrings and the glutes, whereas if you put your feet higher, you do get more hamstring glute action. If you turn your toes out, that's another kind of little hack to get more glute activation. Today I kind of just had a normal, just like a neutral stance. I got a little bit more quad, I would say, but it was a little bit of everything. Yeah,
and plus this was a pretty heavy day, I think, for both of us.
Yeah.
And that's usually how it is, actually, for me on Thursdays. I'll go a little bit heavier, and usually in those cases, you're not trying to target anything specific. Maybe sometimes you are, but usually you're just trying to really move the weight, and it's a good stimulus too, because you'll feel everything really start to work, especially as you slow down, and you'll notice something I do, and I'm not as my legs aren't as strong as hers. I always tried, so I always have to really make sure my muscles are activated. I just can't move a lot of weight. I've never really been able to do that well. So you'll notice when I do leg press, I'm very particular about pausing at the bottom and try not to spend too much time at the top unless I'm really starting to get tired. But yeah. Plus another thing you can do is if you're because I started trying to work the quads a little bit. Once your quads start to tire, you can kind of move your feet up a little bit more, and then you kind of start activating other things and take a little tension off the quad.
Sure, yeah, like I said, it just kind of depends on what you're trying to really hit that day. You can just switch it up that way however you would like. Most of us are a little bit more dominant in either the quads or the hamstrings, so whichever one is weaker for you, that's the one that maybe I would try to hit is the weaker one. But I'm really glad that you mentioned what you did about like the form and the tempo and making sure that like even if you're not moving a ton of weight, that you're really focusing on holding everything and making sure you get that tension. That's something that's like super important for anybody that's new to the gym. And I myself was definitely a little bit of an ego lifter. I still sometimes have that tendency, and I really have to remind myself, form is always the most important, and making sure that you're feeling the muscles that are working, not just pushing the weight just to push the weight.
Yeah, and then if you're just pushing the weight, what's going to happen is you're not going to feel the muscle. Then you're going to actually spend more time and waste more time on that machine because you're going to keep trying to get the pump, but you don't know what's going on. And it's like, well, it's because you're using too much weight. The less weight you use and the more you focus, the less time you'll spend there too. Because nobody wants to be in the gym for like hours on end. Like our workout we did was just about 2 hours, but it went by fast.
Yeah, and that was with us, like switching off and filming a little bit, and it was definitely, we got a lot done in that amount of time, I would say. Yeah,
it was very efficient, and you'll also notice with most of our exercises, we only do 3 sets. I've always been a 3-set person. Every once in a while, I may do a few more sets just like as a plateau breaker, but honestly, if you really focus on tempo, really focus on muscular tension, after 3 sets, you're pretty much going to be toast, and that's almost any exercise. Even with our deadlifts, some people will do like 5 or 6 sets of deadlifts when they go heavy. Like we just did 3. Yeah, I think when you do 3 sets and you do it right, you're toast. On to the next exercise.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it comes down to whatever your goal is. Some people, if they're doing a lot of sets, maybe they're training for more of that endurance kind of thing. For me, I've trained for hypertrophy, which is muscle growth. So the 3 sets is more than enough to achieve that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then after leg press, we went right onto a hack squat. And you'll notice during this workout, too, we focused on quads first and then went to hamstrings. I like to knock them all out in one shot just because it puts more tension on the muscle. Because leg muscles, they require lots and lots of tension and a lot of work because they're the biggest muscles in the body. So that's why I hit all my quads first, all my quad exercises first, and then we go on to hamstrings. So that's why we had hack squat at the end. And like I mentioned before, the active range of motion. Your active range of motion when you're doing hack squat or regular barbell squat is going to be really good. So that's why I always like to end with that. And another thing you'll notice on the hack squat, we always like to use right at the bottom, you can adjust your feet in such a way so when you really start to get tired, the safeties can catch you at the right spot. And that's why I really like the hack squat Halo has, because you can save yourself from injury, especially because once you get to the end of a quad workout, you will start to feel your knees a little bit.
The hack squat is I have a love-hate with the hack squat, but it is really good because, like you mentioned, you don't need a spotter for it. You can really load that up, and if you're kind of like on the edge and wanting to try a heavier weight, hack squat's a great way to do that because you can just re-rack it and you're good. So really good exercise for sure for quads. That's what I usually focus on when I'm hitting the hack squat.
Yeah, and it's almost hard. It's actually pretty hard to not hit the quads just because the way the hack squat is made is because whatever joint moves, that's the muscle that's going to get worked the most. So you'll notice on a hack squat, your back's not going to move. Your back's going to stay straight. So what's going to move when you start bending? Your knees. So that's why the quads always get worked more. Now you can position yourself in a way to try to get some hamstring activation, but it can be a little uncomfortable because you do have to put your feet really high up on a hack squat platform if you really want to get the hamstrings activated. Some people will try to face backwards. I don't recommend that. I've tried that a few times and that it does not feel good. It's way too hard. And hack squat, that's why hack squat's just notorious for quad development because your knees are the joints that are bending more than your hips.
Yeah, the hack squat's been in my program for a really long time now because I am trying to grow my quads, so definitely recommend that. But do want to say that I was guilty of when I first did the hack squat, I would try to load a bunch of weight up there and I was going like kind of quarter reps, we weren't going all the way down. So one thing that my coach has told me is to try to hit basically there's like that bottom part where the hack squat is like on that little slider, that's how it goes up and down. So you can kind of touch that with that bottom part, if that makes sense.
Right.
Kind of tap that, and that's how you know, okay, I've gotten my full range of motion. And if you're not tapping that, probably time to lighten up the weight.
Yeah, well, it's also a good safety thing too. And
For sure.
even if you don't, even you can have a training partner watch, and even if you don't fully get down there, you can still get a good pump. But it's also, I like to use that, like especially if I start getting tired, and because when I start getting tired, I still try to use a negative as much as I can, and that's why the hack squat again works so well. Because even if you're using a negative and you get stuck at the bottom, that just makes it harder to push up too.
Yeah, so, true.
You start from a dead stop, and it's great. But you did mention the quarter reps. There is a time and place for that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know that was something that you had talked about whenever we were
partial
working
reps
out,
at the end.
For sure. And that's totally, totally acceptable in certain circumstances, like what you were using them for. But as a general rule, it is best to leave your ego at home.
Yeah.
And do everything full range of motion, best form, best tempo.
Yeah.
And I can say this because, like I said, I have been found guilty of
and a lot of us
every now and then. So learn from my mistakes.
You don't want to be that guy in the gym, especially you see them on the barbell squats all the time.
Oh yeah,
and they have no legs. It's just like
it's a little bounce.
I know, it's like you can be doing full range with less weight and have better development.
Sure.
But you'll still see people do
and
that.
You'll feel better. I promise.
You will.
I had some aches and pains, and I got put in my place by a couple good friends, let me just say.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And then we went on to hamstrings after that. We started with line leg curl because you can fully shorten the hamstring in that movement. And you'll notice there's a reason I didn't have her filmed from the same angle as I filmed her at, because she's way stronger to be on the line leg curl. And I've never been able to do a lot of weight, at least with good form. But I always have to use a little bit lighter weight because my hamstrings are my weak point. And I'm really trying to contract the hamstring as hard as I can. And since my hamstrings are a little bit weaker, it doesn't take a lot of weight. But you'll notice the way I'm doing it, I really try to squeeze hard at the top. And then right before I pull the weight back up, you'll see me move my ankles. I can't really explain. It's hard to explain. Like I'll start moving, I'll stop a second, and then I'll complete the rep. It's because I'm trying to make sure everything's in the hamstring. Because my thing is, if I don't do that, it's going to start going to my glutes or my lower back, and then I just miss an opportunity there.
Yeah, the lower back is something that I've experienced whenever I was really first lifting, and something that I notice a lot, like just as a trainer, people really start squeezing. You can even see it because they'll start to tense up. So if you're doing the line leg curl and you start to notice, ooh, I'm like really pulling with my lower back, it's time to definitely maybe drop that weight down a little bit, or maybe like think about changing your rep scheme just to make sure that we can get that really good form. So you definitely had a really good tempo, so I wasn't judging your weight at all, I promise.
Did not.
No. You did great.
I try. I do what I can.
And you had a good squeeze at the top. That's the most important part. So
yeah, and it feels great too, and it'll certainly help you get better development as well. And you mentioned the lower back, but some line leg curls are actually built great because you can actually, like this one, Halo there's a little bit of a ridge on it, and if you pull yourself up a little bit more, you won't. Your back will round a little bit, which actually relaxes the lower back, and in some cases that'll actually make it harder for the lower back to contract, which is good. They'll actually put more emphasis on the hamstrings. So, because the hard part about line leg curls, sometimes if they're so flat, because when you're laying down flat, you're already this close to contracting your lower back anyway, because all you have to do is just kind of lean back a little bit.
Yeah.
And then that's how your back contracts.
The line leg curl here is really good.
It is.
I was very impressed with it.
Yeah. Well, I just like how it has that ridge so that your lower back can get stretched out, and if your lower back is stretched out, that means it's less likely to do work.
It's much more comfortable to me than some that I've used. So.
And it's easier to contract the hamstrings that way too.
For sure. Definitely felt it.
Yeah, and then after that we went on to I think we did Romanian deadlifts right after that.
Yes, we did.
And now she did hers a little bit differently than I did. She used a resistance band, which this is actually something I recommend a lot of people try to do. Even if you're new to the gym, even just starting with resistance bands is huge, just because it helps with muscular development more, and it matches your strength curve a little bit better as well, because whether it's Romanian deadlift, or even if you do like a bench press or anything, it's always going to be harder at the bottom, right? But with the resistance band, it'll make it harder at the top. So if you've ever pressed with a resistance band, it's going to get harder up here. Same thing with the Romanian deadlift she was doing. So usually with a Romanian deadlift, it's harder at the bottom. But with the band at the top, it's going to be harder there. So that's why she had the band the way she did. And you've been doing those for a while now, right?
Yeah, I've probably been doing that variation of an RDL for about a month now. the main reason why I do that is because I'm really trying to target a very specific area that's hard to hit, which is where the hamstrings and the glutes meet. So basically, in layman's terms, the under booty, that little part that's like right under your butt. Yep. So that's just an area that is really hard to hit, and just something to kind of like add a little bit of variation in my workout. And the added bonus to that is that having that band around your hips really helps you keep your back down and like your pelvis kind of tucked the way it needs to be. So if you're new to RDLs, that's actually a really good place to start as well, just to make sure that your form is good, because you want that nice flat back. I always tell my clients, like, straight line from your neck to your tailbone. Something that happens oftentimes with RDLs is just a little bit of this rounding action that happens because people are reaching for their ankles because they want to get that hamstring stretch, but in the process we're getting that rounding, which is why a lot of people complain about lower back pain after they do an RDL. So you get kind of two things out of that banded RDL. You get more under booty, but also you get a little bit of a form touch up there as well.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is, when people start doing Romanian deadlifts for the first time, they think they have to go all the way down and like try to touch the ground, whether it's with a barbell or dumbbell. Yeah. You don't have to, honestly, because you always want to make sure your hips are going to start going back first, because your hamstrings are attached to your hips. The more your hips move, the more your hamstrings are going to work. So hamstrings come back first. You may not have to go down very far at all. And you'll notice when I do mine, I'm not going that far down. Maybe a couple times I am, but especially when I first started doing Romanian deadlifts, I was not going down far at all, just because it doesn't take much if you're doing it right to get a good stretch. Once you feel the good stretch and you feel your hamstrings activated, come right back up.
Yeah.
Because if you go beyond that, then it's going to start going into your lower back. And I know it feels like you're probably going to be doing more work if you go all the way down to the ground, but it actually works against you, and you don't need to do it.
Yeah, everyone's anatomy is a little bit different too. Some people have really long legs, some people have shorter legs. So it's just like you said, just finding that good hamstring stretch is the main thing. I'll start people a lot of times, like I'll have them kind of reach down for their toes without even any weight.
Yeah.
That's a great way to just kind of get that mind to muscle connection and make sure, hey, okay, that's what that feels like. That's what I'm looking for when I add the dumbbells. So definitely a lift that takes a little bit of extra finesse, I would say, but it's a really good one. So if you can get it right, then you're golden.
Absolutely. That's going to be one of the movements that really will take some time, and that's going to take a lot of practice too. Like a lot of movements, but that one's probably going to take a little more practice. It took me a while to make sure I got it right, and but once you do, and you have the patience and the time to really focus on it, like once you start doing it right, it'll feel loads better, and then you'll see really good hamstring development. Of course, the last thing we did, we always have to have a grand finale, right? The sleds, and this is something I usually do at the end of my leg workout. I didn't expect her to want to do sleds. Like usually people will say, no, we're not doing sleds at the end of this, especially after doing deadlifts in the beginning. But no, she suggested it, and I was impressed. I'm like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And we did.
A little crazy. It's okay.
You have to be. You have to be. I'm the same way. It was 95 degrees out when we did this, and but it felt good.
Yeah, no,
I
love a good sled push. That's the best feeling ever. Whenever you get all the way to the end, you're like, okay, made it.
Yeah, and you'll notice we didn't use a lot of weight either. And if you're doing sled pushes correctly, you don't need a lot of weight. And, it will start to wear you down fast. Like at first, you're like, oh, I think I can do more weight. But once you get halfway down the track, it's like...
That was a pretty long track.
It was a very long track. The one outside is longer than the track they have here on the inside. But once you get to the end, you can't push. We only had 45 pounds on there. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much the sled itself weighs, but
it's not super light, but it's definitely not that heavy.
Yeah, it's like it's just heavier than you think it'd be.
Yeah.
Like right at the end, it starts slowing you down, and then you'll notice both of us, like towards the end, like we start explosive, but at the end we're just trying to push as much. About to fall on our faces.
Yeah.
But when you're doing sled pushes, and again, it's just like with a lot of other exercises, you don't need like great deal of weight to get a great pump or great workout. You just do it right, and you'll feel good. And something I like to do on the sled pushes at the end, when you start to slow down, try to contract your hamstrings. Something I kept teaching myself for years is to drive my heels into the ground towards the end. That way I'm contracting my hamstrings, because I don't want to be on my toes, because then you're not getting a great pump that way. Because you got to remember, this is a leg workout, so you want to make sure the legs are working. And since we're pushing the sled, you can pull it too. I like to push just because I like to work my hamstrings a lot. And Plus, it's just more natural that way. But yeah,
I tried to pull that sled back, and there's the way
Right.
the turf. There's no pulling that.
You can't pull on
No.
that turf.
No. But yeah, both are definitely great. I really like to also think about engaging my core whenever I'm pushing
Yes.
the sled, because that'll help give you some extra power, but also just make sure that we get a little bit of ab action in there. Your abs really should be engaged with almost any lift that you do. So again, just a good opportunity to kind of make that mind to muscle connection, and then just give yourself that extra little boost that comes from your tummy, since legs are definitely doing a lot of work too.
Yeah, and that's a good way to just stabilize yourself as well. I mean, because once you can start like this and then contract your abs. That's the way you're in a good stable position, and that's probably something I need to work on a little bit more with my sled pushes. Because at the end, it's really important, because you're going to start to, you might feel like you're about to fall, or maybe your shoulders aren't pulled back. That's one of the hardest things, is trying to keep your shoulders back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like I don't think about that, because usually my shoulders start coming out. But
Yeah.
another thing, to pull your shoulders back is better, just because sometimes, and I've experienced this a couple times, you may feel more tension up here if you're not doing the sled ride. Like if you have your shoulders like extended out, like this, you may start feeling it up here. And actually, the other week that actually happened to me, just because I wasn't really contracting correctly. But it just goes to show you that just how important it is to really learn mind muscle connection with any movement you do, even cardio movements like sled or rowing or anything.
Yeah,
So.
super important for sure. Comes with time, but definitely important.
Yeah, that was the leg workout, and we got to suffer a little bit, but it's fun. Leg workouts are really fun.
Gotta love it.
Oh, you gotta love it. It's my favorite day. It's I know it's not your favorite day.
It is not my favorite.
That's why I wanted to do it. I was like, hey, come do a leg workout.
I am. It's growing on me. I'm still I'm an upper body person, which I know is like a lot of other chicks tell me that's weird, but I just really enjoy my shoulders, my back, like that kind of stuff.
Well, that's usually for women. That can usually be a weak point, because usually women have stronger lower bodies, so it's not a bad thing.
I enjoy the challenge, I guess.
Absolutely. And then of course, after a workout like that, you do have to make sure you're recovering correctly, or else that workout's going to be for nothing. And she's got quite the stack here. Her stack's a little more advanced than mine. I just take Bcaas after my workout.
Yeah.
For those that are curious, I do extend Bcaas. Those are my favorite. You can pick those up just about anywhere. But she's got some good products here, some of which you recommended to me, and that I'll definitely be trying out. Like this is one of the pre-workouts here, right?
This is my very favorite product in my entire store. So I manage 5-Star Nutrition here in Waco, and I've of course been in the fitness industry for a little while now, but the supplements were a little bit of something new for me. I've just been in this position since January. I had never tried a pump product before. I got to the store, and one of my guys that I worked with was like, "You never had a pump product?" Oh my gosh. Try a pump product. I was like, what the heck is a pump product?
Right.
So a pump product is something that you'll do before your workout. It has some ingredients in it that help with blood flow. So L-citrulline and some nitrates, those are common ones that you're going to see. Basically, it just helps you get a better pump in the gym. So no caffeine in this, but this is my personal favorite. It's called Pump and Grow. So you do 1 scoop of this pre-workout. I add that in with Nuclear Armageddon, which is our caffeinated pre. So this is like your traditional just energy boost. This one's quite strong. It's got
Armageddon. It makes sense.
It's got almost 400 milligrams of caffeine, so not for the faint of heart there. You can always do a half scoop though. That's what I start people with. But I like to have a caffeine boost before my workout, just to get me like really in the zone and just pumped up and ready to go. So I do both of these together. That's my pre-workout stack of choice. I also do some creatine. I just don't have that with me, but that's typically what I do. And then during my workout, I also do BCAAs like Elliot. I get mine from our store, of course, because work there. I actually do EAAs, which are just a little bit more robust form of. They're just another form of amino acids. So you've got your 3 branch chains and then your essential amino acids. So it's 9 total, basically. So you're getting a bunch of different things that are good for muscle growth, muscle recovery. So I do that during my workout for some extra hydration. And then afterwards, you gotta have your protein. Mm-hmm. So this is one of my favorite proteins that we sell at 5-Star. This one is our peanut butter cup flavor, just a traditional classic way. So protein shake is ideal after workout because it absorbs really rapidly into your bloodstream. So you can always do a meal, or Elliot does the BCAAs right now. Those are also good. But I do always recommend a protein shake for just about anybody. This one's nice and lean, good for almost anyone, whether you're cutting, bulking, whatever. But that one's one of my favorite flavors. So that's just a few things that I typically take. I have kind of a laundry list of things.
You got more. There's a lot more.
There's more.
She's got like bag full stuff. Yeah. I'm like, man.
Yeah. And if you're interested in more things, of course, you know where to find me. Come see me at 5 Star, and I can help you out. But these are kind of like some good things that almost anyone could benefit from.
Absolutely. And something I do want to point out about the whey, the only good whey flavor, honestly, that I've ever tried in my life has always been a peanut butter one. So it's good you guys have a peanut butter one, because chocolate by itself is just horrendous.
Yeah, you know, I don't even really think about it much anymore. It does help to put in a shaker bottle, I will say. That helps like blend it up a bit. I just chug mine down, you know. I just put some water in there and just go.
The peanut butter does help.
But the peanut butter does help. This is one of our most popular flavors, and I'm kind of the same. I typically tend to gravitate towards some of the peanut butter ones. I also have a mint one that I really like.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, those are just a couple of my favorites. But hey, you know, protein, as long as you're getting it in. If you can't get a shake, a meal is okay too. Shake is just going to be the most optimal for muscle growth and recovery, just because, again, it does absorb the most rapidly. And then this protein is also going to have a few extra things in there as well to help with recovery and soreness.
Well, I also recommend whey for people who are new to working out, because when you're first trying to put on muscle, it can be hard to eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize how hard it is to hit 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It may seem easy, but it's like, at first it's hard. It takes your stomach a while to be able to eat a lot of foods. Like, cause I've been doing this for years now, so I can have BCAAs and still hit my protein mark. Plus, I've always had a big stomach, so I love to eat. But if you're new to working out, especially for teenagers, when I started out, I actually was using whey a lot. I didn't start using BCAAs until like 2015, honestly. I was using whey for the longest time. Plus, whey's got some calories in it, and that'll help you put on some muscle as well.
For sure. Yeah, whey is something that I will even sell to younger guys, like you mentioned, like teenagers.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of things that are always, you know, appropriate for people of all ages, but I can say safely that whey is something that most anyone can benefit from, and a lot of people don't get quite enough protein in their diet. So even if you don't use it post-workout, I have a lot of people that'll, you know, grab that to use with their breakfast, or they'll toss it in, you know, something as a snack, or I like to mix a scoop of my protein actually with Greek yogurt at the end of the day. It's kind of smart. A nice little little snack before bed for me. Makes it nice and thick and creamy. So yeah, little hack for you.
That's smart. Yeah. Oh man, and then something else I want to mention about the whey. Like, some people, when they first see whey, they may not think, oh, why would I ever take this? Because sometimes when people are new to working out, they may look at some supplements and go, oh, is that okay for me to take? Or this is only for people that are really working out hard. No. In fact, most people have a little bit of whey in their diet and they don't know it. You know, most people drink milk. That's where whey comes from.
Yeah.
I mean, whey protein, casein protein, even your branched chain amino acids, that all comes from milk, meat, multiple different sources. You're probably eating some, but of course, when you take it in supplement form, you get much more. And of course, when it's in supplement form, it digests faster, which you need right after workout. Because when you work out, you tear down muscle fibers, you need to recover right away. So that's why fast digesting whey and BCAAs are your best bet.
For sure, yeah. Better you recover, better you can train. That's my motto anyway, or at least it has been the past couple years, because as I mentioned, I have learned the hard way. I've been a little bit of an ego lifter in the past, so, you know, anything that we can do to help recovery and also help with that muscle growth. If you're working really hard in the gym, you might as well supplement correctly, because you're going to get the most out of all the work that you're putting in. That's the way I tend to look at it anyway. But yeah, whey is great. Like you mentioned, it does have trace amounts of lactose. So if you're someone that's lactose intolerant, it might bother you, in which case I would recommend like a nice vegan protein, plant-based protein. Still gonna absorb a little bit faster than a full meal.
Yeah.
So always another option there. But for most people, whey is a perfectly safe and good choice.
Yeah. And plus, since it's peanut butter flavor, it'll taste good, so you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, that flavor does legitimately taste very good.
It does.
I'm a big fan of that one.
The peanut butter, the way they blend that is just amazing, because you can try the chocolate and vanilla and strawberry, but I don't recommend it. It tastes awful.
Well, you need to come try ours.
Yeah, I do need to try yours.
You just haven't tried mine.
I have not tried.
Okay. Yeah.
5-star stuff. Although I am going to be trying some 5-star carbs here soon. I wish I brought that in here, but
yes, I do have a carb powder. It's called GlycoSurge.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that is a fast digesting carb powder, which is great for pre-workout, intra-workout, or post-workout. So very versatile.
Well, and the good thing about that one is it's very hard to find a fast digesting carb that doesn't have sugar in it. You know, because you think fast digesting carb, you think Gatorade or some kind of a fruit juice, but those all have sugar in it. You know, and if you're trying to cut weight and you're trying to get lean, you know, you're trying to avoid sugar at all costs because that can inflame you. So that's why the one you mentioned is really good because it's fast digesting and it doesn't have any sugar in it. It's just a pure fast digesting carb that's really good for you.
Yep, that one's great for, again, like performance, little boost, kind of. Before or during, kind of in the middle of a workout, and then of course at the end, I usually will recommend not just protein after workout, but also some healthy carbs as well. So
yeah, and plus that's easy to. It doesn't even have the flavor; it's just a natural flavor, and you can mix it with anything, whether it's protein powder,
scoop
BCAAs,
protein, scoop of the glycosurge, and you are good to go.
Yeah, and I'm excited to try. I personally haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to be trying it here actually pretty soon.
Yeah,
with my second serving of BCAAs, but. Yeah. Anything else you want to add about leg day or?
I mean, I think we covered everything. But if anyone has any questions, of course, hit us up. You can come see me at 5 Star Nutrition Waco, and happy to answer any other questions, like I said, that you might have. But
yeah,
thank you for having me today. It was fun.
That was a fun workout.
For sure.
Got to suffer together.
Yes, I was better with a buddy. So
absolutely. All right, we'll see you guys next time.